Today, the speaker is Robin Alveri. She's going to share her experience related with team-based learning, in short TDL. She got a COAIS Innovation Grant last semester, or last semester. Okay. She attended a conference, education-related conference, and actually she's going to share her experience related with this TDL, and it's going to be very active. We are going to do some experiential work related with TDL. Thank you, Robin.
Thank you for that kind introduction. And thank you all for coming today. I know everybody has busy schedules and other things they need to be doing, so we'll try to keep on track today. And as Murat said, I will be talking about TDL, or team-based learning. It's something new to me as well. I don't profess to be an expert, but it's fairly easy to pick up the information, I think, and to incorporate it almost into any classroom. And I've used some limited group or teamwork in some of my classes in the past, but never a dedicated approach where something like TDL was regularly used. So again, we're going to do a brief version of what I went through in San Diego when I learned about TDL. So I'll give you some practical information, kind of the nuts and bolts of TDL, and then we will do some practice exercises so you can see how it works in the classroom. So we'll put you in the role of students, and I will be the teacher / facilitator, and we'll have enough probably to split up into 2 teams, so it'll be perfect, and we can see how this works. We won't go through every step that you can incorporate into TDL, but I picked what I thought were the most important parts that we can talk about today. And before we get started, I don't have that many slides because I want to spend time doing the activities. But how many people here have, let's say, fairly large sections where you're teaching at least 30 students? It's not unusual, 30 plus. Anybody teach more than 40 regularly? I'm going to keep my hand up because I do. 50 or more. 60 or more. 70 or more. I usually have up to 100 per section. Okay. I teach business law, that's my regular course, and almost all of my students are business students, and it's the one law course they're required to take. And as such, being required and having a lot of business students, I have large classes. And I think this will be an effective way for me to get students more active and participate in deeper learning and to be more motivated. And even though some of you don't have as large of sections as I do, I think you can really use TDL in any kind of setting, whether it's a group of 10, a group of 20, or more. And I've heard that this works even with groups up to 300 people, 400 people. You just follow the same system, break people into teams, and then the process kind of takes care of itself. Okay? So what we're going to do first is get you guys broken into teams. You can stay where you are right now. You don't need to physically move yet. Finish your lunches. But we're just going to break into, let's say, 2 teams. I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10-ish. Okay? And how the team process works is that the teacher will break the students into teams, okay, rather than letting the students kind of do it on their own. Because if you let them do it on their own, they tend to have these coalitions or get cliquish and don't get a lot of diversity of viewpoints going in the teams. And so the key is to create diverse teams. Okay, so how can you do that? Well, you can divide based on gender, you can divide groups based on major, their specialty, whether they came from the Asian side or the European side. There are different methods that you can use, but we want to get as diverse of teams as we can. So I thought for today it's simple, we can just do it by faculty perhaps, and kind of get the scientific, technological type of thinkers spread out in the groups, so they're not all in one group. And then the more liberal arts, policy-oriented people spread out, and also ELC, because I think we have quite a few ELC members here as well. Hey, did you bring it? Great. We'll try. I have my laser pointer. We'll see if it works or not. If not, not a big deal. Okay. So the key is to have a diverse group. Okay, so we'll do that in just a second. I just want you to start thinking about the method of why I'm going to separate you the way that I do. And before we actually get into our teams and physically move a little bit, I just want to go through some basic information about TDL and explain and hopefully answer these 3 questions as we go through the session today. What is TDL? Why should TDL be used? And then how does it work? Okay, so pretty simple questions. What, why, and how. And if you had a chance to do your reading, it would look something like this by Michelson and Sweet. I know all of you probably read every page and every word in there. But even if you didn't, that's okay. It's just like real life, right? Sometimes students read, sometimes they don't. Some read more than others. But what this article talks about, primarily first, what is TDL? And I highlighted or bolded the most important words to take away from this. First, it's collaborative learning method. So we get people working together to brainstorm with each other, to use the multiple ideas and to take advantage of the various viewpoints that are present when you're working within a group. It's a very different dynamic than when you're asking one person just to regurgitate information that they've stuffed into their brain so they can answer a multiple choice question. But the point is to have team members rely on each other and develop a sense of group cohesiveness throughout the semester, because these teams work together throughout the semester. So they're more or less permanent teams, okay? And that was the second point. We don't want them switching around and switching groups, because in real life, you have to work with people that have different viewpoints, and you often have to work together regularly for a long period of time. You don't just get to change teams because you're having a personality conflict with somebody, or because they think a different way than you do about how a problem should be solved. So then what's the role of the teacher in TDL? Well, it's a more, I don't want to say a passive role, but it's different from the normal stand-up and lecture type of teacher. Instead, it's viewed more as a facilitator, where we help guide the discussion, manage the discussion, but the students are doing more of the work. And that's the beauty of it, because then they develop this deeper learning, and not only do they get the foundational content, but they learn how to apply it and how to think about it and how to use it in problems that you present to them. Okay, and the main 2 points there about how TDL works, or what it is, 2 stages: readiness, assurance, and applications. Readiness, to make sure they have the basic foundational content, that they've done their reading and kind of get it, in other words. Okay? And that's done on an individual and a team level, this readiness assurance. And then the application, taking that foundational content. Once we know they're pretty much ready, they've got the basics down, how can they apply it? How can they take this information and use it to answer new questions that they haven't had to think about before? And then peer evaluations is a pretty big component of TDL, where groups, the members are accountable to each other. And as part of the grading process, it's suggested that the people in the group, whether it's anonymously or by name, it doesn't matter, they will assess each other and basically give each other a rating on how helpful of a team member they were, what were the strengths, what were the weaknesses, maybe what were some good points, what are some things this team member could have worked on, and factor that into the grade. It's a really effective way to develop team cohesiveness, because they're relying on each other, right, as part of their grade. So that's a quick rundown of what TDL is, and why is it being promoted? Why should we use TDL? Well, it's been shown that attendance levels go way up, and if you have sections of up to 100 people like I do, it's quite common for quite a few of them not to show up, and you still have a large group, but you'd rather have more present, right, and get more viewpoints, more activity going on. And that goes along with the second point, increased student motivation. The students have consistently reported they have a better time and enjoy their classes better when TDL is being used, rather than if it's just a traditional lecture, or maybe occasional teamwork. Right? But when TDL is used consistently, the students enjoy it better. And probably for me, one of the most important points was number 3, bringing up the struggling students, because the good students will still be good students, right? The ones who are naturally motivated, who are naturally gifted intellectually, they will still excel in class and still get good grades. But we have so many people towards that bottom 20%, bottom third that really struggle, especially if it's a language issue, like I find in my classes teaching law. Some of it tends to be very dense, and we use technical terms, legal terms, and it's a struggle for quite a few people. And so TDL tends to bring those people up so we don't have as many failures or near failures in classes, okay? So that's a good thing. And then students, as you see, are learning to work with other people rather than just stay within their comfort zone all the time and work with only one sort of person when they have the chance. And that last point, deeper learning. We want to create people that are original thinkers. We want to create people that have original ideas, right? And they don't just regurgitate, memorize, cheat, regurgitate, look up the other person's paper, and not come up with their own ideas. I'm sure none of you ever have that go on in an exam, right? But we want people to be comfortable thinking and talking and discussing and contributing their ideas and actually using the information that we teach them and applying it so they can go out into the real world, work with other people that are different from them, and be more creative problem solvers and come up with better answers more times, more often than not. Okay, so that's why we want to use it. And then last, how does it work? We're going to do the teams section in just a second, where I will be forming the teams. I think we'll probably have 5 and 5, it looks like, so that's great. That's the suggested optimum number for teams. Anything bigger tends to get unwieldy. Anything smaller, you don't get as much discussion and diversity of viewpoints going on. So 5 to 7 is what I plan to stick with when I incorporate TDL into my classes in the fall. And diversity, we've already talked about. We want to spread out the different ways of thinking, the different backgrounds throughout the groups, so we get a rich dynamic going on within the groups. And the learning sequence step, which we'll go through together after we've broken into teams. It's summarized here as preparation, readiness assurance, and application. Okay, so we'll get to those in a little bit more detail on the next slide after we've broken you into teams. And then peer review, we don't want to forget about that. It's very important to incorporate that into your team-based learning in your classroom because it fosters group cohesiveness and it makes individual members more accountable to each other. They'll feel a sense of responsibility. And I think that will create a stronger desire to participate and to try to do a better job, right? To contribute and work with the material with their teammates. So we have permanent teams. They follow a special learning sequence that always follows the same order of preparation, readiness assurance, application, and then we finish with peer review. Okay? So it's up to you. It's flexible in terms of how much you want to use TDL. Do you want to combine some lecture and some TDL? That's fine. Do it, right? I'm just giving you the basic building blocks. Do you want to have peer review that's graded or not? Do it if you want to or not, but I think it gives them more incentive to have it count for an important part of the grade, whatever their peers think about their team contributions. Readiness assurance. I'm struggling with the idea on the individual level, should I grade them or not, on how well they've read something like this and answer questions on a test. Because there's an incentive to cheat, especially when there are large groups of people. It's easy to, look left and look right and look behind to try to get an answer. So I think I'm going to take away the incentive for cheating and probably not grade the individual test part. But when it comes to groups, we want them to talk. We want them to work together. That's not cheating then. That's working together. That's collaborating. So I think I will grade the group readiness assurance efforts here, but not the individual part. But you can structure it however you want. You can grade them on an individual basis and also on their group contribution and throw in some peer review as well. And it makes a good, strong, motivational type of module.
Maybe you'll get to this later, but can I ask how many times can you typically go through the learning sequence in a semester?
Well, it's the reading, if I remember correctly, suggests that you break down your content by general sections or modules, and a normal semester might have 5 to 7 of those topics. So you would set up TDL, for my case, maybe we would cover 2 weeks of contract law, and so I would do a TDL module just about contract law, and then maybe another one when we get to intellectual property, and then maybe another one to cover competition law, okay? Torts, contracts, whatever we talk about. So typically 5 to 7 is a fairly average number of subjects that you will cover during a semester. But again, there's flexibility. If you don't cover that many distinct subjects, fine. You might only have 2 or 3 TDL modules, and you can spread it out over the course of a few weeks. You might have more than 5 or 7 subjects to cover, and so you can have more. Okay, so be flexible and just adjust it to your needs in your classroom. All right, so teams. See how we're doing on time here. Good. Let's have, how many people do we have for PLC? Raise your hands high. Just let's have you count off 1, 2, 1, 2, okay, until we're done. So you want to start with you?
1.
2. Just remember your number.
1.
2. Okay. Anybody else? ELC? Remember your number. 1 or 2. Other faculties, either engineering or sciences. Okay, we did 1, 2, 1, 2. Why don't you be 1? And anybody from law? Just me, but I'm not going to participate as a student today. Case, social sciences, humanities. You could say 2. Okay. And others, I didn't cover yet. What's us? We'll do 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. So you know you're a 1 or a 2. How many 1s do I have? 2, 3, 4. How many 2s? Good. Okay. Let's have you just kind of gravitate towards each other. Maybe we can bring the 1s up towards the front of the room and the 2s kind of towards the middle. Okay? You can just briefly introduce yourselves and arrange your chairs however you like, maybe in kind of a semicircle where you are, or just turn them so you can kind of face each other and hear each other.
So we don't know what we'll be doing yet.
All right, so this is 1, right? And we got 2. Okay. Just get yourself comfortable. Mary, you might want to, let's see. 1, 2, perfect. Okay. What we're going to do is take you through the official learning sequence. Okay? Do another minute or so for some introductions. Yeah, you might just want to turn around for 1 second so I can just give you a little overview of what we're doing. We're going to jump right into the blue section. And if you don't have a tabletop, you might want to get a desk that has a little tabletop on it. And kind of get those ready. We're going to kind of gloss over that first stage of the learning sequence called preparation. Okay? In our case, we used that sample reading, the PDF file that was attached to the Colt flyer, which I know all of you have read from front to back, and you've got it all in your brain. Okay? The pre-class reading, that's the preparation that students would be doing. You give them a reading assignment, whether it's from a textbook or a course packet, and that's what they hopefully have filed away in their brains when they come to class. And now we're getting to readiness assurance. And this is to make sure that they have basic grasp of the foundational content. They're not asked to really analyze and go into deeper level thinking at this point. We just want to make sure they have the basics from the reading assignment. And so you'll see it has individual and team components. Okay? We're going to do the individual one first. It'll just take a couple minutes. I'll give you a little multiple choice test and see how well you guess. And then we'll do the team test. We do the same test, but as a group, you'll be voting on what you think the correct answer is. And once we've done both individual and team, we'll hear kind of what some of your views were, but I'll tell you what the best answers were. Okay? So you'll get some immediate confirmation, some feedback. Appeals, we'll skip. That's something you can incorporate or not. If you want to have it in your class, maybe some time set aside where a group feels, hey, we really think B was the better answer, not C, because blah, 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 and give them a chance to appeal and to challenge and maybe get some extra points. We'll skip that, and I will probably skip it in my own classes as well. That last part, the lecture, is just clarification, maybe where you spend a few minutes if you sensed some common problem coming out in the answers, or maybe a common misunderstanding. You can devote a little bit of lecture time just to make sure they're all clear on that point. And after we're done with readiness assurance, our little individual and team tests, we'll go into that green stage called the application. And that's where I'll give you a separate little problem to work on, and you'll vote on what you think the best answer is. Okay? And then we'll compare answers. Maybe you'll end up choosing the same answer in both teams. We'll see. Okay? So now I'm going to give everyone a rat. Not the rodent, but a readiness assurance test. Okay, so I've got the actual little test, and then the answer sheet you could use, which is the yellow one. So I'll give you one for each member of your group. Fine. If you want to take one and start passing them around, I'm going to give you the answer sheets too. Start passing those around, and we'll end up giving you one extra to keep later, just so the group can use it. Okay? So you have enough for each individual, and then I'll give you an extra yellow one to use for your team. Answer sheets. And you can just write your name at the top and whether you're team 1 or team 2 if you want to. Enough for everyone plus one extra and go over to the group later. And you can go ahead after you get it and just start working through. I'll give you a few minutes. And as you're answering on the yellow sheet, let me just point out, if you're pretty sure about what an answer is, go ahead and mark it with up to 4 points. Each one is worth, let's say, up to 4 points. If you're sure A is the answer, for example, put a 4 under A for that particular question. If you're not sure, it could be A, maybe it could be B, and you want to hedge your bets a little bit, you can put 2 points towards the A answer and 2 points under the B column. Okay, and that way, at least if you get it right on the second try, you would get some credit for that. So each question is worth up to 4 points. So if you're sure of an answer, write a 4 under the letter that you choose. If you want to divide it, you can between answers that you're not sure of. If you haven't done the reading, it's okay, just give it your best guess. If you think it's A, put 4 points. Like if you choose A, put a 4 there.
Or 3 and 2.
Yeah, or you can divide if you're not sure between A and B. Say, you put 2 points here and 2 points there. Maximum 4. Okay. Go about 3 more minutes or so, okay? Even if you don't finish all the way, don't worry. You'll have a chance to go through it again as a group. About 1 more minute. No pressure. Remember, in a real class, you'd have more time. We're just kind of condensing everything. Just quickly skim through whatever you've got left and take a stab at it. Whatever jumps out at you as possibly correct, go ahead and maybe put 4 points in for that answer. And we'll be moving on to the team test, so you'll get to do the same thing again and just discuss it as a group. Okay? So while you're finishing off your answers, what we've done right now is go through this stage of the readiness assurance process, the individual test, to see how well you're getting the foundational content from the assigned reading. Okay? Now we're going to do the same thing, readiness assurance, right? Here's the stage we're in. But we're now move it to the team level. And statistics show that the team grades are significantly higher than individual grades. And they even tend to outscore the highest performers on each team. So we'll see if that holds true with you guys. So I'm going to have you do the same test that you just did on the white sheet. And hopefully you've got one left over, a yellow blank one that you can use to record group answers. And this is one way you can do the group answers. Another way that we did in San Diego at the conference that suggested is using one of these forms. It's like a scratch-off lottery ticket. And I'll put a little visual up on the board so you can see it a little better, and I'll pass it around. But you would vote on what you think the answer is to a particular question, like, what do you think it is? Well, I thought A, for example. So did I, so did I. Okay, let's choose A. And so you would scratch off A, and a star would be revealed if that was correct. So it gives the students immediate feedback. Yes, you were on the right track. So it reinforces learning right at that stage. If it's blank, there's no star. Oops, okay, what was our second choice? Well, some of us thought it was C also. Let's try C and scratch it off. Aha, there's the star we were looking for. Okay, so it helps to reinforce learning and to give them feedback right away, which is found to be very motivational. So I'll pass this around just so you can see it, but you can record your team answers on the yellow sheet. Okay, so you should start getting together, have somebody record, and just put 4 points after you vote on what you think the answer is for each of those same questions. And then I'll reveal what the answers are.
Yes.
I also did.
So, 4.5.
For B?
Actually, I remember
Yeah,
it's
the teacher can roam
it's
around
after
and
the
listen to what's
test.
happening.
That's right.
This is the way that I remember. Between B and C.
Okay,
Yeah, for the group votes, just pick one answer as your group answer and assign 4 points to that, whatever you choose.
So B,
And then you can just keep these for reference later and see how you compare it as individuals versus your team.
all right, number 2. I wasn't sure about this.
Yeah, I wasn't either. I selected A and C.
That's when I started getting a bit shaky. I checked A and C. I put C.
What was your
mostly
second
C.
alternative?
I actually
I
graded
read for C at 1 for
and I
extra
was
A.
A,
But
B,
then I
C,
seem to remember.
the order I would prefer. But the thing is,
I can't remember the number.
recall per se.
So the,
She did say, One C.
I kind of object to D because I remember the number 5 to 7.
I don't know if you guys did. I remembered something in the reading that said.
here's just a problem I have. The question is,
I didn't remember. I was okay with
then we
it.
have create small groups. Well, what are the barriers to removing small groups? Create small groups. That it seems like we're placing the cart before the horse. Like we can make a small group. But the question is, how do you define a specific?
So responsible, I remember that word.
It was in there somewhere.
Small.
Is it a C?
Removing barriers.
Well, I don't know, but let's go for C.
Whereas it seems to me if we went with A,
But if you assign the role,
Okay, 3. Which of the following types of business science should be avoided when doing team
I expect
learning?
the students or
Me too.
nobody from outside the group should assign the role to the members.
I thought of that
This
too.
is what I am told.
I thought of that too. Other than
The group should divide the role.
This should be okay, right? Yeah, that's also, I mean, this is about creativity
I
and.
didn't actually notice the think of assigning roles.
I
I didn't see this as you teacher assigning roles. I was just seeing give roles
Even if they haven't
divide
looked
roles.
at it.
Because I think that allows people to come out of their shell. Because I know my job is only this big. I only have to do this. And so
then I would check
doing my job and not
I think you have a point. I think that this could be.
Didn't see the article.
Actually, assign roles in the resolution, she said about this.
5 to 7.
Might need, why don't you be the secretary? Yes, I agree, why don't you be the.
Remove the barriers. So it says like,
Shall I put 4 for A, or shall I put 4 for A, or 2 for A and 2 for S?
D.
2 for.
I don't know.
Probably go about 5 more minutes or so on the group.
Correct? 2 for A, we're locked in.
is it team? Can we also distribute the numbers? Or
I guess if you want to, but for us, using the scratch-offs, it was all or nothing. You had to choose one answer and go for it. So why don't we do
is there always a unique answer? All
She
questions?
said 5
No, all in.
There is one best answer for each one. One definitive answer,
So
yes.
then,
2 answers might seem good, but one should seem better than the other.
so then moving on
Or
to.
S is a lingus, and actually reinforcing assignment is listed in all the good applications.
I just did a question that was brought up. Is there, I put
I didn't even read it.
is there definitely a right answer? And I said yes. Okay, so there should be one answer that you would prefer as the strongest or best answer, even though 2 of them might seem better.
I went with D.
Okay.
Sorry?
I went with D.
I also said D. A for 5.
So we have 3.5.
Assignment that require production.
I thought we all. a 6.
Or 6. Okay, sorry.
6 or 5?
5 is A, right?
Also, I think when you're asked to do this, to produce a document in a team,
No, I think
there are 1 or 2 people who end up doing
But I
all
like
the work.
No, I can't stress
Whereas with presentations,
I vaguely
it seems to
remember
be
something
divided
about significant
more
problems from
with a document.
Actually, I thought that remains, I thought it
Doing
made
so
sense.
much work, and other people may not.
Yeah, well, I guess you
No,
need to.
I would do better.
Okay, majority rules.
Yeah, I guess.
6 and 7.
6?
It's difficult to do a document.
I was shooting in the dark here. I put C.
I did too.
Yeah.
Too. Someone has different.
And 7, what is the best description of an appropriate question for the readiness assurance process? Okay, this is.
Hey.
So did I. Okay.
That is
I did, but I was shooting in the dark. To be perfectly honest.
But nonetheless, those B and D, each with each
Yeah.
question. So D and D each time.
That's true.
So let's go around and do
We're done.
A.
D.
B and D.
What about our last minute or so?
Okay, we should do that.
That's just teapot. How do you get the guinea pig into the teapot?
The result is irrelevant. It's not really its function.
Actually, I kind of remember this very well. Like, the idea was to have diversity of the groups. And the paper says, if you let the leaders
I've got my
select
answer key.
their own teams, then I mean, either the boyfriends or the girlfriends or the like colleagues may be selected.
They just simply choose their friends.
Yeah.
No idea about their
Have a diversity. This is the method I know.
So, your answer.
Alice versus.
This makes it more realistic.
We should be getting votes on your final answers if you have any left.
Okay, just a few moments. Five,
So it's very quickly 5.
We're actually a bit above them.
I hear wonderful discussions going on in
I'm
both
just
groups.
an outlier.
It's exciting for the teacher to hear
Do
that.
I have to? Oh, they're already
Oh,
used.
they're getting it. They're thinking about the right things.
So then, let's just.
Making good arguments.
Next time, okay?
Sometimes for more than one reason.
Sure.
You're the united.
No, okay, now 36. I
I'm
got
like, let's go.
B and C.
Wish we had a bit more time, but you get the flavor for it.
My choice is C.
no idea.
Sounds like C then, for the last.
A.
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 Okay.
So does each group have a selection
I'm going to
for all of your questions?
Yeah. This was all.
Did you guys see this? This is kind of the fun way to do the group answers, where you find out, okay, let's try B and see if there's a star there, where you would get all 4 points possible. And if it took you more than one try, 3 points your credit, or 2 points, or
Just
1.
like you.
Produce the numbers or produce.
And I have a website link that shows how they do it, a little video clip if you're interested in
And then
that.
you can use some
What
sort
is
of
now
magnet.
like team decision? Can I write them down?
I think, I mean, I started to think right away.
I'm
Oh,
not
yeah.
sure, the company that makes them, I didn't notice for mobiles, and maybe there could be a way to design it to use clickers to do the same type of function somehow. I don't know enough about clicker technology to know if we could substitute that.
B.
But I have a big sample package of those coming in the mail from the States, and they're actually
D.
pretty good.
1B, 2A, 3D, 4D, 5B,
Anything when it produces at some
C,
game,
7A.
it's a reward. It's like,
Okay? Now we're going to get finished with this readiness assurance phase, right? We're right here in this middle of the learning sequence. And we've done our individual testing and just gone through our team testing. I will just briefly announce what the answers are, and you can make a note of that when we go along. If we had time, we could entertain some appeals if you didn't agree with what I say the right answer is. But just in interest of time, I can tell you what page number you would be able to find it. Like it's C because page 9 says so, okay, for the reading. So I will at least give you that. And we'll skip the little clarifying lecture if there was some common problem that was coming out from these answers. So let's get finished off. For question number 1, which of the following is the typical order of a TDL module? The correct answer is B, like boy. Reading, individual testing, group testing, appeals, and then group tasks. You can find that on page 9 of the reading. The actual page number that has a little 9 on it, okay? B.
Page 9.
On page 9 of the reading. And not physical page number 9, but if you look at the page numbers that are on it, you would go to where it says page 9, okay? Number 2, which of the following is the most powerful method of removing barriers to small group participation? Drum roll, please. The correct answer is C, like cat. Establish a grading system that fosters group cohesiveness. You can refer to that on page 11 and also on pages 15 to 17. And on page 24, they talk about grading systems and the group teamwork. So that's considered to be the best answer, C. Number 3, which of the following types of group assignments should be avoided when doing team-based learning? D, like David. Assignment that requires production of a lengthy document. No, we don't want them working on a lengthy document. See page 12 of the reading for that tip. That's a danger point. We want them to do short, concise work. Okay, lengthy document would be counter to that. Page 12. Question 4, which of the following team formation strategies is most likely to lead to dysfunctional teams? D, like David again. Assigning team leaders and letting them choose their own teams. No, 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 we're going to develop associations and cliques and things going on internally that we want to minimize. So you can refer to page 10 if you want to double check why D is the correct answer. Page 10. Number 5, which of the following is one of the 4 S's of linked and mutually reinforcing assignments that is necessary in all good application exercises? B, like boy, a significant problem, one that is meaningful and has relevance. And that would be on page 20 of the reading. Page 20 of the reading. B, significant. 6 and 7, I don't have page numbers. I'm just going to tell you what they told us the correct answers were in San Diego when we did this. The health professions class and the application exercise should produce deeper learning, clear feedback, and develop group cohesiveness. And I'm just paraphrasing here. Correct answer, C, like cat. Each team writes out 3 to 4 findings, blah, blah, blah. They have to cast votes for which one's the best. Then the instructor gets the teams to explain why they chose what they did. Correct answer is C, to meet those objectives stated in the question. And the last one, 7. What's the best description of an appropriate question for readiness assurance process? B, like boy. Require use of foundational content. We want them to have that. Use the foundational content to solve problems not answered in the assigned readings. So this means, in other words, we're taking the knowledge and making them apply that knowledge to some new problems. Okay, B.
What was our answer?
So you can quickly kind of tally up and see how you did, you know, as an individual and also as a team. And make a note for yourself, and then later when I collect everything, I'll be interested to see how you did. So hopefully that was fun, right? Readiness assurance.
As a team, we got 20 points.
All right, that's pretty good for not having a lot of time to do reading. I'm hearing good conversations and good results so far. So now we're going to do this last stage, okay, the application stage. This will be the little bit deeper learning stage. And it's only a team activity, no individual component here. So I'm going to pass out. You can just put those other papers away or to the side right now. I'm going to pass out the team exercise, the application exercise. And you're all going to go over it and decide what you think is the best answer. Let's see. Up there for everyone. And I have to grab one master copy here. I have a white copy as well.
I distribute between A and B.
It's supposed to be blue. Does everybody have one there?
B is
Need one
the
more?
end goal. That's what we want them to do.
Any extras?
One more.
Okay, so if we wanted to graduate the level of difficulty, then I would think that would be the
I've got one more. It'll be white rather than blue.
Okay, there you go.
You're going to go through that and have to make a choice.
We're working together, right?
It doesn't matter if you know anything about Spanish or not. It's irrelevant. If you have any questions about the nature of the question or something, let me know. Just focus on the objectives. After you guys discuss and vote on an answer, have somebody ready to hold up when I say what your answer choice was. Things and vote on what the answer is. Have somebody hold up when I say, when I give the signal, hold up whatever you guys decided. And we'll do it at the same moment the other team does.
I'm confused about study the following passage. So we assume it's a passage from one writer.
Yeah.
And there'll be one example in here. One example, like one verb usage that shows.
Yeah, I think they must have like at least two different sections to compare the way they worded the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a passage maybe that has a couple different examples. So you have to say, oh, this one has greater usage. Yeah.
So these would be the examples that best show how,
Using,
the best example of how it can be used?
Yeah, which one is using more, the best way or most properly the use of sit versus a start. Does this passage sound better? Which one is better showing using? Okay. Yeah, I just kind of envisioned it as two little sample paragraphs or something. You would be asking the students to choose. That's what that's the way the question was worded too, so which would be clarified.
When you're being corrected.
The team doesn't get along all the time.
We're just kind of
Somehow we handle that there is a disagreement.
And then they suggest having a team folder created at the beginning of the semester. And so they have, hopefully that will help foster cohesiveness and you can keep track of scores and attendance and things. But if there's a special issue like that, have the teacher know that they're open, they're available to come see and talk to if there's an issue. But we want to have them try to work out as much of that as much as they can on their own. I then only come to this teacher if it's something that can't seem to resolve. But if there's a problem person, they say yes.
And of course, I do think about it, right? Because it's like corrections, not that embarrassing. And then you start
it's a good idea that we give a leader and support or something like this.
That's kind of intuitively what a lot of us want to do, but it goes against this idea of not assigning roles and letting certain dominance build up, or leadership roles build up where one student doesn't feel as valued maybe as another or as powerful as another. We want to try to keep it all on an even playing field so they feel comfortable to contribute.
So assigning roles.
So everyone's equal, egalitarian.
So assigning roles is generally not.
Frowned upon.
So in D, we know you're supposed to.
Otherwise, if the person who is leader or chosen gets into that mentality, or I'm the leader, and they might tend to dominate discussions and things, maybe quieter people might tend to stay quiet.
It doesn't say, it doesn't give us enough information.
Yes.
Which one?
Don't give us enough information.
I know, I kept the wording the way that it was.
Is there a passage that we're reading with each one of these?
No, you're just saying if you were going to tell your students and give them an instruction, pretend you're the teacher and you're going to tell your students, do this one, or instead do this one, and you would be presenting them with the work. And this just kind of tells you what's the nature of the assignment choice. You could do this with your students, or you can do this with your students, or this, which one do you think will help meet those objectives that are stated up here? Okay. Alright, so these are just different activities that you could choose to do. Which one do you think is the most effective one? If you're really the teacher, which one would you use?
I'd go for D first. I think they're all good, but I would say D would raise the
Now that I read it one more time, I'm not so sure, but I still think it is too strict, like the rules.
See, I
Out of the other, I'm toward 7 But D is my second choice.
They need to have
C is the material used to apply to the material.
They're looking at two things also, so they're doing more deep thinking about your identifying the correct and the incorrect, and which is first conversation.
C is not deep.
Let's go for C.
I think that's one.
Or one best.
You have to vote on one. You have to choose one. And maybe just as a backup, mentally know what would your second choice have been. We thought it was probably this, but it could have been that. Because we'll hear some of the reasons you picked what you did.
If you explain to me why this example is wrong, you'll be referencing
We're like in
rules
between
and
C or
rules.
D, and then we see that it's showing D, and then we'll switch to D.
You can only choose one answer. Maybe just mentally note what your second choice or backup answer would have been, but you have to just go with one. And we'll just hear a few explanations about why. I'll call time in just a second, and then you'll raise your letter.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming that they have some knowledge of this.
I'm also,
before you get
inclined that way because of that. The only way you learn that is before you
But if they're starting from absolute zero,
you have to see the correct order for it.
for practicing.
But D
And then the way I like to
requires
speak to classes that
the originality, like
program generating speech immediately. But then of course our ELC students are all just
rather than
Also, don't
they
you
all
want to
have
see
knowledge
the
of
correct ones also?
That's what I
Right.
To reinforce in the mind. So this last one, I think,
identify what
But
the
is
programs
the
are.
only limiting to
But do we want like our students to be given
high energy.
all the material and then they pick
Depends on the type of
the
student.
correct and incorrect?
I think you're getting it exactly. When we say identify the mistakes, are we giving them a list of mistakes written down and they say, this one is the most common, this one is the second most common, this one? Are they just identifying from a list? Or are they creatively thinking, what is the mistake? I think if they use esta this way, in this sentence, that's what
Conversation. For D, let's assume that they're just being asked to generate on their own, rather than looking at something and working through it, just on their own.
This is kind of recall rather than recognition.
So how far are you identifying?
Yeah, recalling.
Yeah. So that changes very
I
much.
am between C and D. But
They had a question on D, I just want to make sure. Imagine in D that they're not given anything to look at, they have to generate, regurgitate, come up with the information themselves. To identify, just think about it and write it down.
first, if I were the teacher, I would examine both C and D. First, and then work on D.
Okay. All right. We're going to finish up in the next minute because we have a class coming in.
Anybody for A?
All right. Serious? Okay.
Okay.
So, whatever the majority vote seemed to be, let's hold up the cards for your vote. We've got one D and one C. One D and one C. Well, in a real class, we would have discussions about why. I see that you chose D or C. You know, who chose? What were the reasons that led you to that choice? And you, well, why did your group pick D? And then we'd have a discussion and hear each other's viewpoints again. Thought, ooh, maybe our answer wasn't the best choice. But B and C were both considered fairly strong answers. But our instructors said B, like boy, was the best answer because it shows the greatest use of judgment. You're asked to make a judgment call on greatest proficiency. Okay, and the way that our teacher described it, A and D both ask your students just to make a list, A and D. That's why those weren't the best choice. C is okay. It requires making a choice. But B was best because they have to make a specific choice. So rather than just make a list or make a choice, they have to make a specific choice. So they said B encourages the highest level of thinking. Okay? Thank you very much. If you want any of the materials, I have them also at the cold office, okay?